Hello my friends, I'm here to talk to you about a book that has become special to me. A book called Metro 2033 by Dmitry Glukovsky. When I was accidentally in a bookshop because of my girlfriend at the time, there was this book in the sci-fi section with a gas mask, and so I thought, oh ho ho, this is cool. Let's read the title, Metro 2033. And then I was like, oh, this is a video game. I played it and it was very good. For a moment I was just thinking of installing Metro 2033 again. I'm just kidding. No, for a moment I thought, hey, the description of the book is enough to make me want to go into the book's atmosphere. And with an author with the name of Dmitry Glukovsky, wait, let me say that again. Dmitry Glukovsky. You know it's going to be an authentic experience inspired by both Soviet and post-Soviet depression. So I bought the book and went home. Well, in my case, I read the first 10 pages and thought, wow, this is amazing. But then I forgot about the book completely for a year. I even lost my girlfriend and my body styles are completely different than before. But I picked it back up and I decided to open it and read the first 10 pages again. But this time, go past that point and read the whole 450 pages. How would I do that? Well, I can just force myself to read 10-20 pages per day, and if that's too much, take a break for a day or something. Reading is slow. It's a paradox. One moment I'm into it and love the detailed atmosphere in the book, but the next moment I'm like, okay, let's put this down and shoot some creatures in the Metro video games. I loved the book though, so I finished it. And now it's time to tell you my thoughts about the book. If you think your life sucks, you won't think that anymore, because in the Metro 2033 book, you'll have the key that will fix your life, because now you will be happy just for existing. You will thank Dmitry Glukovsky for writing this book, and you will put him on your wall. If you thought that the atmosphere in the games like Metro or even Stalker is deep, well, here it will be deeper. Those games are made with level design in mind first, what is possible from a technical aspect to create, and then write the story around that, shaping the story to the game, and not the game to the story. But the book, it has pages and writing, which have endless possibilities that will be interpreted by the limitless boundaries of your imagination. It's first a story about humans interacting in a complex way with other humans, and then sprinkle that with some paranormal activities, human enemies or monsters. While in the video game, it's more about shooting enemies and monsters first, and interacting a little bit with humans in between the levels, which is fine because it's a video game and you want to beat the levels and the story is just there to carry you through the levels. And it may even be a good story too, but it's still limited. The game modifies the story to the point where it's a different story compared to the book, and therefore the two mediums of expression don't even spoil each other because they are so different. The main character may share the same name, other characters might have same names as in the book, and even the general plot may be similar and with the same conclusions, but the way you reach your destination is completely different, and what you do with these characters is completely different as well. And that's cool, because you can enjoy both things. This story is about Artyom, our main character, becoming from just some random young Metro guard squatter at Vedunk into a seasoned Metro explorer Chad warrior. But let's be fair, growing up in the post-apocalyptic Metro is already enough to turn you into a serious person, made out of 99% testosterone, so being a young man in the real world cannot compare to being a young man in the metros of Russia. In the beginning of the book we share some stories at the border of Vedunk station with Artyom and other guardians who are just chilling at their guard post. They just drink tea and talk about their past, the present. We learn that Artyom as a child lived with his mom in a different station, which then got invaded by rats and everyone died. We learn how Artyom was given in desperation to a soldier in the brinks of the destruction, and that soldier took Artyom and had to take care of him ever since. These are the harsh realities of the Metro. Those rats were not usual rats. There are all kinds of mutated creatures after the war. Some big, mysterious and deadly. Some small but also deadly that attack in a swarm. Fortunately, that swarm of mutated rats was defeated at the next station with flamethrower machines. Now it may not sound like much, the way I say, but trust me, the way it is written is unique and makes the station detailed and very interesting, real almost. Just get the paper version of the book, go to a corner of your room, turn on a lamp in the night and read this book in silence. It will be perfect. Then, at the same guard post, we hear about the Dark Ones, which are some tall black humanoid, eyeless, silent and violent beings. We are told how they can eat bullets and still push on, how they can attack with psi attacks and make you have visions as they kill you. If you do manage to kill them, they don't cry or scream before they die. They just fall down, increasing the aspect of how creepy they are. Artyom and his boys were able to stop a wave of Dark Ones, and so they talk about it while they are chilling by the fire. I was told that the Dark Ones is actually a mistranslation from the Russian book, where they are called the Blacks. But because of political correctness, they changed it to the Dark Ones, which is lame, but this still sounds mysterious, so it's okay. We learn about the routine shifts of Artyom, we learn about the mushroom factory and how the Vedank mushroom tea is sold and is famous throughout the whole metro. These small trade and economical details make the metro system feel believable. It's not something super complex, but it doesn't need to be either. I've seen reviews of people who said that there aren't enough details in the book, but trust me, there are enough details. There is an appropriate level of stuff that you actually end up remembering everything. I feel that if there were more details, I wouldn't have remembered the book so well. I even remember the station names and the vibe of the different stations. Once Artyom gets started with his journey, we get to follow him station by station to the end. It is in this journey that we see the distinct nature of every station and even the distinct nature of the tunnels that lead to the stations. The tunnels look different, smell different, vibrate different, sound different, and pose different threats. Again, in the game you only shoot monsters, but here in the first tunnel, for example, somewhere between Vedank, Alexevskaya and Rizizkaya, the tunnel has a certain resonance that only Artyom can feel. Soon after, his squad members start to get affected psychologically. One falls asleep, the other starts to cry and lose all hope. Starts to walk backwards in the darkness, things like that. It's so atmospheric and creepy, and only Artyom doesn't have any symptoms. Hence, he is able to wake up his crew and push forward to their objective of bringing supplies to the next station, in exchange for telecommunication cables and an alliance between these stations. Telecommunication would be very important to solidify their collaboration, because in the case of a threat, you would be able to call for backup way faster than you would by just sending someone with a message in a minecart. When Artyom receives his mission, it is very unexpected. A badass character called Hunter, with the courage and resilience of steel, comes to visit Artyom's stepfather Sukhoi, and here a debate sparks between Sukhoi, who lost hope in humanity and thinks that whatever mutants are outside, they are superior and will destroy humans and represent the next evolutionary step. All that humanity can do is protect itself in the limited time that it has and not try to fight back or go out again. But Hunter believes with passion that humans should not just stay and die slowly, but need to fight despite underwhelming odds. He himself is living proof of proficiency against all odds, and once again he has a mission to the north of the metro, a mission to find out about these Dark Ones and go to the source. Artyom appreciates the spirit of Hunter, and Hunter sees this in him. He calls him outside so his stepfather can't hear it, and give Artyom a mission. In case Hunter doesn't come back the next day from this dangerous mission, Artyom is to deliver a message to Melnik at police. This message is encased in a bullet cartridge that then ties to his neck. Suddenly Artyom feels important. This man who has seen the entire metro and is part of police, elite military, gives him a mission with high degrees of responsibility. But how would he reach police anyway? Police is the center of the metro and represents the nucleus of civilization, or what's left of it. But to get there, you'll have to go through some difficult checkpoints. There are communist and Nazi stations. There are monsters and unseen energies lurking through the tunnels, and he doesn't even have an updated map with all the details necessary to plan a safe trip. And that is why, from this point onward, the book becomes very interesting, because it's not just a clear path. We get to see Artyom decide from station to station where he is going to go. He meets characters along the way that influence these decisions, or improvise his way out of stations where he gets stuck, like Bourbon, or the old but strong and spiritual Khan, or a team of unexpected communist revolutionaries that help him escape from a Nazi public execution. He doesn't stick with these commies, but it was a very welcome rescue. And you know what? The way those guys are described makes them very unique and human, even if they are commies. At the same time, those guys are against the regular station commies that own the Red Line. That's right, the communists own an entire line, and they've had extensive warfare with the capitalists, which are called the Hansa, and own a ring of stations that connects all parts of the metro system. Hence, because of the trade flow, they are very rich. Well, in this case, meaning that they have actual electric lights, and they eat eggs and bacon whenever they want. And regular people all have access to this lifestyle. Other stations eat just mushrooms and fried rat. The fact that you can see these factions outlined on the map of Metro 2033 makes for a very satisfying experience of how the lore works. There's not a ton of lore, but the lore that there is works great, and it doesn't need to be more complex. You follow Artyom, and then an unexpected event happens that evacuates the station towards a certain tunnel. Thus, Artyom's only direction possible is towards a tunnel that leads directly to the Nazi checkpoint. You wonder what will happen to him there. And you see the place on the map. It's a really cool feeling, because everything makes sense in the book. It's not just some hipster detailed book about nothing. There are clear actions that have clear consequences, and you move from point A to point B to C to Z. Sometimes you get out of the path, but then you generate an alternative path, so it's never boring. It's tied together somehow by fate, and we continue to push towards our goal of reaching Polis. Another time, Artyom gets stuck at the gates of Hansa, left with no identification papers. But fate brings before him an option to join a rat race and trade himself as a slave in case he loses, because he has nothing else to trade. But if he wins, he is to have access into Hansa territory. Now he loses this race, but he will not become a slave either. Instead, they let him in, but he has to shovel shit for 2 years or something. Unfortunately, someone has to do this, and it is a terrible job, but at least he's able to enter their system somehow, and he will figure out later how to get out of this situation and get closer to his urgent mission. Again, none of this unique stuff is in the video game. In these events, Artyom meets very unique characters that become his friends. It's not about getting from point A to point B, but about the characters that he meets, and the way that they are written makes for some unforgettable encounters. Sadly, a lot of them die or disappear, but that just enhances the serious and dangerous nature of the metro. It's not just a cakewalk to travel through it, and with Artyom you feel like you are just a part of the world and nobody gives a shit about you. You are a nobody. And no, you are not an invincible hero, and you even get to shovel literal excrements for a while. Despite him having weapons, they are not the best weapons, and he needs to think how and when to use them, because everything is a risk that comes with consequences. Sometimes he is even left without weapons. This is not Rambo 2, where we spam an unrealistic infinite ammo clip. This is the complete opposite of that. You have very limited ammo and a weapon with questionable maintenance that could jam. Even when he has superior equipment, it's still not advised to start firing at a mutant, for example, for that will alert other mutants, and before you know it, you'll be surrounded and killed. It's all very tactical. If you're a gun nut, you will appreciate this book, because it's very specific with the descriptions of weapons, ammo, and equipment worn by not only Artyom, but everyone else. And since I brought up Rambo, my favorite Rambo is actually the first one, because it's more realistic with the ammo and weapons used. It is tactical and psychological, I don't know why they threw that all away and replaced it with infinite ammo spam. In Metro 2033 by Dmitry Glukhovsky, communists, Nazis, cultists, free independent men, Hansa, capitalists, police, elite soldiers, they all have specific weapons and gear. Even cannibals have their own gear, which is lack of gear. But they still have a tranquilizer and poison dart. This was one of my favorite combat encounters, where Melnik's squad protects Artyom, Anton and Oleg from waves of tranquilizer and poisonous darts by forming a testudo formation and keeping it with tactical prowess despite hundreds of darts being thrown at them. Melnik, like Hunter, is a beast, a very serious and experienced commander type. If you know the video games, Melnik is Miller. And I think the video games do a good job at portraying Miller, especially when you fight with his squad in the beginning of Metro Exodus. That sense of keeping that tactical cool even under heavy amounts of pressure. It's epic, but there is a moment when even that rock-solid camaraderie is challenged, and you'll see that in the book towards the end. The pacing of the book is very good. A lot of people say in their reviews that it's too slow and that they lost interest in the story, but I don't feel that way. For me, it had the effect of caring about every little event that happened, every new person that we meet, every new station and every new tunnel. I cared about the people that we lost along the journey. In comparison to modern films, which are just plotless action, explosion spam, or woke festivals, this was amazing. Other people complained that women didn't have important roles in the Metro 2033 story, but to me this was a good thing. It felt more serious and realistic. In a Russian post-apocalyptic metro survival situation, that's how it would be like, most probably. This is not a feminist meeting or a lecture, it's survival of the fittest, realistic story. Notice how in modern action films there is always a strong female fighter added to the mix. Usually she can beat 2 meters 7 feet tall warriors with ease. And without a scratch. There's none of this in Metro 2033. Here, women take care of children and have other roles except for the soldier role. Here, women are women, and I like women. Women don't need to be like men or take the roles of man, while the men take the soldier role. But it's not an easy role. The fighters in this book are not invincible. They are fragile, including Artyom. In order to survive, they have to come up with improvisations and ingenious ideas. They don't just shoot like the standard action movie soldier. It's all very thoughtful. The book is a roller coaster. Sometimes it's warm with family and emotional situations or the comfort of a discussion by the fire. But then you step away from that fire and into the cold and dark metro, where danger lurks. Sometimes you are in very organized metros where they have marble walls that have light and where people collect and read books, and other times you are a prisoner of a savage cannibal settlement in the unknown dark areas of the metro system. There are philosophical questions being asked and answered by different parts of the argument in the different parts of the metro. The discussion at Polyanka station about fate is probably the best one, where a different outlook on fate is being offered by this old man by the fire. I won't spoil it for you, but sometimes the book can get really deep. Even the cannibals have their motives for being what they are. They hate technology, for example, because it is the missile who threw humanity into this darkness, and they only eat people that use technology. In their ideology, it is synonymous with evil if you still promote and use any kind of technology. Discussions with the leader of the cannibals show a strange but almost convincing argument as to why he invented a new religion that will keep humans away from ever destroying themselves. Of course, everything falls apart morally speaking when you know that they eat humans and they also beat them to death in a sack before they eat them. But you know, we got a fleshed out cultist faction with some type of believable, insane logics. In this book, there are other situations and other cultists, like the Christian metro sect that Artyom meets. Initially, they seem like friendly people who believe in God, but then you see that they have a distorted version of belief, and their members are kind of like prisoners and are not allowed to leave. Perhaps the most interesting aspect of Discovery is about Artyom and his talent of being immune to some of the psychological attacks of the metro tunnels, asking himself if it is a real talent and how to control it. Many times he is tested by these tunnels, and he is not as immune as he was in the beginning of the book. He will struggle, and he will have to battle some of these visions to get to his destinations. Many times he is almost about to give up, and again, this adds to the fact that our hero is a normal human being and not some kind of untouchable legend that can go through everything without a challenge. It's a well-written main character, and I was able to relate to him and follow him through his struggles to the end. I cared about him because he is a human, like me, not perfect, sometimes falling down but wanting to do good and to try his best to stay on his path to save his community and the whole metro, which is what is left, as far as they know, of humanity. Outside of the metro there is only an area left for scavenging whatever is useful, and squads are sent with gas masks for these tasks. It is always a question if that squad will come back, because there are very agile, strong, and very dangerous creatures waiting for new prey out there. There are ways to deal with some of these creatures, and very specific creatures to certain areas, like the so-called librarians in the library. The librarians like silence, and if they hear you disturbing the library, they will gather to observe you and creep their way into destroying you. Compared to the game, they can be extra creepy by imitating your voice as they slowly kill you. They do not attack if you walk slowly and stare at them, but if you look away or start shooting, then you will have a big problem. Keep in mind that I am not spoiling much. The way the whole library section is presented and what happens is full of detail, and important things happen for the plot, which I have not said. With a few lines you can spoil maybe the plot of a video game, but not a 450 pages book. Great world building. I cannot say enough how this universe feels real, living and breathing. Often little things are mentioned about what people do around Artyom in different stations, from environment descriptions to shopkeepers to guarding posts to small dialogues, entrances, gates, economy aspects, rat races and other events. It's all there, and again you can follow all this on the metro map, which is, as I understand, very similar, if not a complete replica of the metro system of Moscow. You can find this map when you first open the book, but also on the internet, where it's bigger and where some people even mapped out what dangers exist at what tunnels. If you don't want to spoil that aspect, you don't need to look at it, but once you're finished with the book, you can look at it in retrospective and maybe even put it as a wallpaper. Speaking of the end, I thought that the end was good and it finishes the book nicely. Thus, I would like to conclude that this book is 100% worth your time to read it. For a book that in the beginning was refused by all Russian publishers, I thought it was amazing. Of course, I know that after it got refused, it was rewritten in an interactive online forum and in an open source way, so when it was shown again to the publishers, it was now a much more cohesive experience. It would be unfair to say that they refused the masterpiece, but man, it became something really cool and perhaps a masterpiece thanks to a fantastic premise and thanks to the internet and the help of other Russian writers who fleshed out the chapters of the book. Maybe on the book it should say Metro 2033 by Dmitry Glukovsky and Friends. It was refreshing to read something like this. It didn't feel pompous or hipstery, it felt real. The book receives an 8 out of 10 from me, and maybe even higher if I read the Russian version. I read the English translated version, which even had many grammar mistakes and weird typos every 2 or 3 pages. Let's say the book is an 8 for me, but maybe the Russian version would have gotten to 8.5. It's a great book that I will always remember, with really cool lore and epic atmosphere. But I have my own opinions about the ending. And here is where I will spoil it, so maybe leave now before I proceed. The ending was a bit rushed. The events after Artyom goes outside and reaches the top of the tower happen very quickly, and the dangers that they face are not many. They basically shoot a flying mutant, which is badass, I'll give you that, and then they plow through mutants with their 6-wheeled monster car. When they reach the tower, no further dangers await them, other than the never-ending steps that they have to climb one by one because the lifts are broken. It is a race against time, because they have to contact Melnik on his team on the radio to give them the missile coordinates and to destroy the Dark Ones. So they better climb those stairs, which they do, and no mutant attacks them on the way. But they get really tired and have to stop for a couple of times. Once at the top, they assemble the antenna, communicate with Melnik, tell him the coordinates, and then the missiles launch. Now, during this launch, Artyom is contacted by a conclusive vision from a set of recurring visions from the Dark Ones, in which the Dark Ones tell him that he is the chosen one, and that the Dark Ones are good, and that with their evolved senses they could have helped and, together with humanity, rule the outside world and bring peace to it. So they make you feel really bad for the Dark Ones, because now they will all get destroyed without mercy. But here is where I ask, do they really deserve that mercy? Because in the book, there is no evidence of information that these Dark Ones could be good. In fact, we only see them attack. They never capture anyone from their attacks, and they never try to communicate or send a message to the humans. The end of the book makes it seem like we never listen to them, because we humans are violent and would kill the white flag bearer. But again, throughout the whole time, it is the Dark Ones that threatened and attacked human territory at Vedank. They knew that the humans are afraid and would attack any foreign mutated creature. They could have captured Hunter, for example, because he was alone. They could have captured him and shown him that they are intelligent and good and sent him back with a message. But they did none of that. So you can't expect humans to see them as anything less than what they are, a monstrous threat. And if they are superior and more intelligent and stronger, they're even more of a threat, because let's say that humans will collaborate with them. I bet in time humans would become more extinct. The Dark Ones would take the throne of the food chain on Earth, and the humans would be nothing more than their pets. So I care about my own species and its survival. We are not evil. We have some bad traits, but we also have a lot of good in humanity, and it is worth keeping alive despite our flaws. So for me personally, it is good that they launched the missile successfully, and the last page of the book won't convince me otherwise. If this was the real world, I would say that the Dark Ones are the fallen angels or Nephilim, and I want nothing to do with them. But if you read the book, I encourage you to make your own interpretations and opinions of this stuff. I think even if it's written in a certain way, we can still have our own perspective on things. Let me know what your perspectives are in the comment section. I think this is all I have to say about the book, without talking about it for hours. There's a unique feeling in these Russian books and games, from Metro 2033 to Stalker, and I am looking forward to play Stalker 2, which is to be released soon. And I will also review a book called Roadside Picnic by the Strugatsky brothers, which are the inspiration source for all of these materials, for Dmitry Glukovsky's books, for Metro games, for Stalker games, and for the Stalker movie even. But until then, thanks for listening to my review, and make sure you stick around with the channel if you like what I do. And check the description to find ways to support me. I will see you guys next time. This is Vosto Vlad, signing out.